He was. That's what he said. He said that last.
Judge Quinn, Judge Wise is not retiring.
Only reason we voted for him because he said he was retiring.
Yeah.
I think, you know what?
Hey, we got to get.
Oh, have we started?
You already gave us the clap.
Can we get a new clacker?
Y'all are just punishing the editor.
You just gave me the clap.
We need more clap.
Her audio's fine. She doesn't need any more clap, which she's already got. She's perplexed.
You don't
All right,
know
welcome
that.
back, everybody, to another episode of the Rowdy Loafers. Hey, but we're not just the Rowdy Loafers. We are the Rowdy
we
Loafers.
are the
This
Rowdy
is the
Loafers.
Ultimate Texas Podcast.
Ultimate Texas Podcast.
Yes, we have Michelle Haas on here. It's going to be fantastic.
Welcome.
Texas history. I mean, I love about talking about restaurants and money and all these different things. I got my money shirt on.
Did y'all plan this?
Yeah.
Yes.
What's up with
Actually,
that?
yes.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Ultimate Texas Podcast, right? We got my good compadres here. I got Suit Steve and Fireball Bill, Michelle Haas. Texas history. So I love Texas history. If you've seen these past episodes and you go back to episode 1, you can talk about why we're doing this, why we're trying to get the word out there about all these backstories. As the more I read, the more I kind of look up, the more that you digitize and I can understand. It's like, wow, this would be like the ultimate Yellowstone episode. I can go, you could like miniseries after miniseries after miniseries of these fascinating people and the struggles and the independence and the motivations, all those things. So, thank you for coming here. I know you came a long way.
Oh no, it's it's an honor to be here in the People's Republic of Conradistan.
Oh,
which is
yes.
what I call
Yes.
That's what I call it.
Don't forget that the People's Republic of Conrad.
Yes.
That's actually
you have
so
no
true.
idea what you started.
Because, because Republic Boot Company, if you look around where we are right now, we're sitting on the Republic Boot Company stage, by the way. This really is kind of a museum in its own right to Texas
It is.
history. And oh, by the way, we make some really cool custom
Mm-hmm.
pins.
And we're the center of the universe.
Yeah.
And that's why it was so cool to hear from
But
your
it's not
booker
just-
because you guys make gorgeous, culturally relevant products that are just gorgeous and smell
Bringing
phenomenal.
back that thing. Yeah.
But that you take time to touch on some facet of history when you talk to, cause you talk to your
Yeah.
bros, and
Yeah.
it's a casual conversation, but you're always trying to teach people
not
something they
about the
didn't know
product.
about history.
It's not about the product. It's about the full experience. And part of that experience is to understand the history and the culture of
And that
why are we doing this.
That's correct.
That's a rare thing to me. It's an island, which I call Conradistan.
You have started something for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely have started something there.
Just get a new merch line.
I know.
I see the new shirt coming out right now.
But just like we had Matt Bryce on here from Federal Grill earlier, and he did a fantastic job. But his,
he did.
Federal and Republic, they're strong words. They mean something to us and what we're doing. It's not the Conrad Boot Shop or anything like that. It's about our people. It's about this thing that we're trying to do, educating people on. I had done some stuff with kids, trying to educate them or bringing stuff to the public, but this is the best venue to kind of do it. You got to kind of bring them in and make them comfortable and explain this map, what is this map? This isn't the Texas map. Well, this was a Republic of Texas.
Right.
What does that mean? Well, and you just start going into this whole thing. Some people blow you off. Some people want to go deeper into it.
Well, and then they want that on their boot. Which
Yeah, we've done a lot of
Right.
that with the
Right.
100%.
I went into Wyoming, all this kind of stuff.
That
what
the
does that mean?
original sexy shape of the Republic
The sexy shape,
is
yes.
not something that everybody recognizes, and it's something that everybody should recognize.
Are we going to bring it back? Am I allowed to actually bring back the original shape? Will New Mexico let me? I think the Santa Fe expedition said no, right?
Yeah,
Right?
kind of, but
Yeah, well.
But hey, I love
you bringing people in
Yeah.
here, and it feels like home, and then you're just surrounded by things that are conversation starters. That's a hell of a thing that you're doing.
I appreciate that. But I love what you're doing, right? So why are we doing this? Why? I mean, you got
passion.
so
Yeah.
many things, and we're going to talk about the digitization of all of this documents that future historians can actually go into and make their own books and stories and all that. That is a huge thing for our future. Somebody started this at different points, but why in the world did you get into this? I mean, what is the motivation?
the publishing side, the nonprofit side, because my entire
Yeah,
life
you're
is-
all over the place, right?
is-
So maybe
yeah.
publishing side, right? So what's
Where
But
did
the
it all
history,
start?
where,
Well-
where did the passion
Yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
Texas history come from for you?
I was not born into it.
Mm-hmm.
Confession: my mother is a Yankee.
Uh-oh.
If y'all need to take any action on that, we can do that later. But so I didn't grow up in
kidding.
a rah-rah Texas
Yeah.
sort of household. And I had a phenomenal 7th grade Texas history teacher. He made me draw a black bean, and I thought I was going to die.
Oh, okay. That's
I,
cool.
honest to God, thought.
All right.
And he was that kind of teacher that just was passionate about it.
It's
and all
great that the teacher aspect, because Judge Ken Wise is here as well. We talk about going into schools and making
Mm-hmm.
sure that those teachers really, explain some of that, the Black Bean episodes and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
and you can bring that to life for kids in the way that it scared the bejesus out of me. That I went home and told my mom, Mr. Jackson almost killed me today.
Yeah.
So a lot of that stuck with me because he was such a good teacher. But it wasn't until I was in Houston in my 20s working in oil and gas, and just as a side hustle started selling rare books, and just gravitated to Texana because A, there's a market for it.
Yeah.
B, there's just a plethora of it in Houston estates and bookstores. And
It is kind of hard to find, though. Like, I try to find stuff on Etsy or not Etsy, but eBay and other markets to try to get some old books. And I found some old, journals, Crockett and all this kind of stuff, but it's not so. I mean, I know you're in different worlds.
no,
It's out there,
I mean,
and
some of that. So, dude, perfect segue. I love you, man.
That's what I do. Professional at this.
One day someone said to me, if you find this book once a year and you sell it for $500, why not just republish it so that everyone can read it and you can sell 1,000 copies for $40? And I said, because I don't know how to make a book, idiot.
Yeah.
Like, that's the simple answer. But I started thinking, well, why don't I know how to make a book? How hard can it be? So I learned all the design software and the how to communicate with the printer and all of that, and secretly published this book of land conversions that reprinted this book about that converted land measures from between French, Spanish, and Standard, and tried to sell it. And I didn't tell anyone; it was a secret. And because I'm from Rockport originally, I named it. I had to put an imprint on it, so I picked Copano Bay Press because Copano Bay is the most beautiful body of water in the state. Don't care what you say; I'm willing to fight you over it.
It's feisty.
I didn't think it would.
I
work.
wore green just to make you happy here. So, by the way, if you can see us on our video feed, we got some nice, and it is Christmas time. We shouldn't be talking.
Some
about
platforms were still in black and white.
Sorry,
Actually,
yes,
we
Copano
might-
Bay.
Yeah.
We can. We're green screenable for
Yes.
whatever anybody wants
You
to
can put different
project
arms
onto
on me,
us.
basically. Yeah.
We can
arms.
make you a squid.
Make me a squid, please.
So I didn't think that. I didn't think that would take
Quickly.
off.
My
and it
mind
did.
is just blown.
I know.
It's just so many things I'm thinking of right now.
I-
You got
Stop it.
fireball building.
I actually have the skill set to do that.
Okay,
And I'm
we're going to talk later.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You like whiskey?
Copano Bay.
You like whiskey?
gin.
Oh, we're in. All right, I can do that. I got a new gin.
Gin, I'm
whiskey
in.
event. Yes.
Yes.
So I had no idea that anybody would buy that damn book, and then they did, and I went, well, hot damn, like maybe I don't have to be a rare bookseller. Maybe there's a viable business in publishing Texana, and just started boom, 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 just because I knew
Texana,
so
you're
much.
talking about like Texas relevant topics. Texana, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's all. That's all we publish, and we try to stay in the vein of firsthand accounts,
Okay.
Uh,
Awesome.
just from all time periods. I mean, we've got Republic era, we've got late 19th century, we've got cattle drives, and I wrote a book about the discoverers of the East Texas oil field, and
Like Spindletop area? Are you talking about north of that?
the original Daisy
You're writing
Bradford.
books too. I'm saying we're kind of jumping around. You do so many different things, right? So your book East Texas oil field. Is that what it's called?
It's called Dad and Doc. It's
Dad and Doc.
It's because it was Dad Joyner was the wildcatter, and Doc Lloyd was the fake geologist who was pretending he knew there was oil under the ground in East Texas, under the pines, to sell stock certificates, to sell shares of these wells that they never thought would come in, and then, oh crap, they came in.
Wow.
And they had triple, quadruple, quintuple sold stock in those wells, and then, so that's how we get H.L. Hunt, right? He shows up and goes, look, you screwed up. I got a little bit of money. I'll buy out your interest. You won't get sued anymore by these people with stock certificates. That's how H.L. Hunt starts his fortune and then goes off on that
Interesting.
bizarro H.L. Hunt
Yeah.
life with all his famous
It's fascinating that you
wives.
went into that. That's like for me, like kind of
Huge.
rabbit hole, like just getting into that.
Yeah, my entire life is just history rabbit holes.
I was going through my grandfather's stuff. My father, passed away a few years ago, and it was devastating to me. But I got all of this documents. I'm going through it in detail. He's talking about so my grandfather was born in 1909 in Beaumont. Because they're doing the Spindletop thing and all the oil wells and stuff like that. Then my great grandfather came to Humble, and they had the Great Humble Fire. Do you know about this?
Oh yeah,
thing?
yeah.
And so he was helping to they've got pictures of this, and I should probably give them over to you. It's
I've
fascinating.
seen you. So your family had pictures of
Yes,
the Humble
of
fire.
the fire.
Because I've seen lots of postcards.
And nobody knows about this kind of thing, like the Humble, and that's where Exxon comes from, is Humble as well. And anyways, I love these kind of these things that we need to preserve, these historical moments that nobody knows about this.
I have a sign. I shouldn't. Well, yeah, we'll put this out to the world, and
it
somebody's
out.
going to come steal the damn thing. I have a
We're seen
wooden.
by millions, by the way. Keep on.
I have a wooden sign that says Texas Oil Company. It's the well name was like Edna number 38 or something. It's an original Texaco
Wow.
handmade oil sign from the 30s before Texaco was Texaco. So there's a sign pointing to the door to my office that says the Texas Company on it.
The Texas.
And now somebody's going to steal it.
Nobody's going to steal it. Nobody's going to steal it.
The post and armed guard
Yeah.
out there. But it's so publishing has been my career for 17 years. Sometimes I'm fortunate enough to be working with a book that no one from the 19th century that nobody really knows much about the author, and I get to I'm working on this in 2023. I have more resources at my disposal. I can go track down who was this guy, why did he write this book, and add something to that.
How do you get these resources? I know that you're very connected in this world, right? And so it's just fascinating to me, like, not to give away your secrets, but it's just
no.
like you've got so many different connections to figure out, hey, I'm gonna get this firsthand accounts, like you said, and then to verify all this stuff so future historians can verify that right inside their.
So I know.
How big is your team? Is it you?
Yeah.
See, that's what I'm getting at.
and my marketing director. So if you've ever read an email from us that made you want to buy something, that's not me. That's half me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a control freak. So that's part me. Because of my background in rare books, I already know what's a good meaty book to bring back into print.
Yeah.
And then anything I can add to that, whether it's annotations or new research about the person who
That's
wrote
fascinating. Just to kind of, so you're taking these books, as you said, a meaty, interesting content. You're like, oh my God, I love history and I love Texas, but this is something everybody needs to understand. So you're actually putting the
anything that can
notes
be
or
added.
whatever.
Like we have there's a great book that was published in 1859 that was about this man who worked on a ranch. It's one of the earliest cowboying books we have about Texas. And, by access to digital records, I could establish that he was working for Tom O'Connor down around Victoria and, could add some context to that book when we republished it.
Right.
So that people know exactly where he was working and what historical circumstances he was living in. And that dude was wild. Like, he went and ran cattle in Australia before he came to Texas.
Wow. You can think about 1859, this era. How are you traveling? I mean, You know,
You were traveling uncomfortably on a ship,
exactly.
and you probably have body lice by the time you get here.
Yeah, you're not on Qantas coming over here from Melbourne
Yeah,
or whatever.
there's no cocktails on board.
No, nothing.
No.
That's crazy.
Do you have a place that, like all of these books that you have published, republished, however you term that people can go as like they're a website or something?
Oh, yeah.
that people can go to and access this collection of books that you've put back out there.
The full catalog. So we do books, and then we have a collection of historic maps.
Oh wow.
We
Love the
have
map.
old oil field print, and everything is at CopanoBayPress.com. If you can't spell Copano, that's a U problem, but I'll spell it for you. It's C-O-P as in Paul, A-N as in Nancy, O. CopanoBayPress.com.
Oh, I can do that.
Yeah.
That was easy.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Especially for
Right?
him.
So do you find that most of the people that purchase your books or your maps, do you find that there's any trend within them? Are they purchasing them because they're just interested and want to read them? Are they collectors? Are they what do you
Dude.
find about?
Good point.
I got stories.
Okay.
I'll keep it short. I hear from people that say, I just finished reading. There's an account we published of this British woman who came to Texas on an armed yacht called the Dolphin with her husband. I mean, they have more money than God, and they're just sailing. They popped up in Texas during the Republic era, 1842. They were right here in Houston.
Rowdy
And
Loafers.
she's it was smack dab during the Rowdy Loafer period. And
our time, baby.
she didn't pass judgment on the Texians. She called the Texians such agreeable savages.
Agreeable savages.
Yeah,
Wow.
because
Oh, that's good.
at the time, Houston
I can relate to that.
buildings in this
I think
town,
there's another T-shirt coming.
Agreeable savages. Yes. Sorry.
the agreeable savages of Conradistan.
Yes, you're creating
You're that
lots
guy?
of lots of
No.
T-shirts and
not paying
and
attention.
No,
books.
he's behind the bar.
He don't
He's not
care.
paying attention. We're talking about you.
Agreeable
Yeah.
savages. Stephen Harden, yes.
He's one of my dearest friends in the whole wide world.
So he was here with the Rowdy Loafers. We did some pictures, but so all of that stuff, like the I'm gonna blank on some of his books, but they're
Texian Iliad, Texian Macabre. Texian Macabre is the
Texian
Houston
Macabre
one.
is about Houston and talking about the Rowdy
Well,
Loafers.
he's
coming
given
here.
both of those copies to me for Christmas, different
Yeah.
times, and this is
even but like early days,
wonderful
right?
gift.
Well,
Yeah,
there
yeah,
is,
yes.
I shouldn't say this, it's not my publishing contract, but he's in Abilene. He's going to kick my ass. I got to do I was a reader on his new book, which is all about the runaway scrape, and it is something special.
right up.
We've,
Yeah.
we've mentioned that many a times on here.
It is something special because there's new accounts, new unpublished accounts of the runaway scrape that nobody's ever seen that are going to be in that book, and
Fascinating.
It is awesome.
Yeah, we were talking about the which way tree, and so I was kind of calling out my my Rowdy Loafer friends here about which way you're going to go, and so it's these things that people don't really not understand, but never heard these stories. Let's get these fascinating stories out there. And honestly, I'm going to do a shout out to Brandon Seal because I've been listening to his accounts of pre 1836 and all that, and the Cabeza de Vaca, all that.
Yeah.
So it goes way back to 1500s. And, I love it. And what you're doing, like, I want to get all of this stuff out there, digitizing this stuff. So from the publishing companies to the new work,
Yeah,
the new work
that's
that you're doing.
that's its own animal. My goodness gracious. So about 3 years ago, was this 2023? I'm so tired. I don't even know what year we're in. Just pretend it's 2023 if it's not when this airs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I started seeing, quotes in the media from professors at flagship Texas University saying wild stuff, that the Alamo is a commemoration of whiteness and that the Battle of San Jacinto didn't represent freedom for everyone. Well, no shit.
Yeah.
But if you're a professional historian, that's all you have to say on the matter. You're not really.
One of the greatest things is if you go back and look about the crown. I talked about this earlier, but the crown against the Republicans, which were the Federalists at that time. It is oppression of freedom, and all these people like Zapata, for example, like Mulatto, Tejano, and all that fighting these battles for a principle, these Jeffersonian principles of the Enlightenment that came
Oh, yeah.
from the American continent over. So we call Americans. I don't care. Again, I'm a Texan through and through. Right? I'm not United States, whatever. I'm all about. But if you look at the letter, which is tattooed on my arm, from Travis, it's to the people of Texas and all Americans in the world. So the people of Texas, all Americans in the world is the all Americans in the world.
It's an idea.
It's an idea.
Yeah.
It is a constant thread that we all were doing. So the Tejanos, the Mexicans, the mulattoes,
You
all these
know,
different people.
You may know this, Chris, because you know stuff, but one of the biggest proponents of that, and people don't talk about this because there's not a recent translation of it, and I'm working to change that, but Lorenzo de Zavala, after he was exiled from Mexico, he went to the United States and kicked around, and he wrote a travelogue about it. He wrote down his observations about how democracy impacted the American people, and that's what he wanted for Mexico.
Right.
And
So Lorenzo de Zavala was the president of that wrote the Constitution of 1824. So when you look at the Alamo, you see 1824. Right. That was the Federalist, the independent-minded thing written by Lorenzo de Zavala. We have the de Zavala flag here everywhere. We support that. So it wasn't your race. It wasn't all of that. It was the ideas of this Enlightenment movement written by our because he was the vice president, right? The first vice president.
He was our
of the
first
Republic
vice
of
president.
Texas, Lorenzo de Zavala.
And the reason that he was because, Mexico was in such turmoil, and Santa Anna comes to power in and out 8 times.
Right.
And he sees an opportunity for Texas to establish a form of republicanism such as he had seen in the United States.
Right.
And says, sure, I'll sign my name to that, because he had witnessed it firsthand, and that's what he believed in. And so I'm actually trying to get someone to translate. There was one translation in the 80s. I don't know how reliable that translation is. I don't know how familiar that translator was with, the Regency period Spanish. But I would love to digitize the Spanish version of his book, but
Of his book is this?
Zavala.
De Zavala's. Yes.
He wrote 2. He wrote a history of revolutions in Mexico.
Yeah, so I mean, the Tejano cause, again, going back to the people that came from the Canary Islands, right, from Spain over, and they were self-sufficient sitting there in San Antonio. I mean, these folks were the ones, the Seguins and others that were fighting against, Joaquin Arredondo, that came up as centralist and royalist to take them out. I mean, it's fascinating, right? So, but the Tejano element needs to be a little bit stronger represented inside of a Texas history.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. But at the same time, when you have professional historians that are saying nobody talks about Juan Seguin, like, are you high?
Yeah, exactly.
That's patently untrue. Awareness of Juan Seguin and Erasmo Seguin and the Navarros has never been higher, and that's good. They're like, everyone that was integral to the story needs to be integral to the story. So when people with degrees that are in high places are saying that the Alamo is a monument to whiteness, that gave me pause. It gave me pause for a while, and then I start looking at how
myself back.
Well, we were talking about earlier.
Like, come on, are you serious?
Yeah.
I mean,
I start-
it's
insane.
It's
So-
been a
insane.
few more minutes than
It's
5,
insane.
and look.
I started looking at.
That's why I want to create the miniseries to kind of show it in action about this back and forth. I mean,
Yep.
especially the Anglos that came with the Tejanos during this whole battle of 1813 to 1836. I mean, it was a cause deal. It wasn't like a racial deal, to be honest. I mean, they all saw.
Well,
if
and
you
at
look
some
Jim Bowie.
point-
Jim Bowie is married to Vera Mundy, their whole family.
At some point, though,
Right.
you've had the revolution, you fought the war, short though it was. You fought it, you won it. and then you establish a government, and you're trying to keep that government while the enemy literally lives at your back door. And so there was some persecution of Tejanos because people were like, okay, you used to be loyal to Mexico, and then you weren't, and then you were, and no. So, and was it racial? Was it just,
Right.
you're from that other country, bro? Are you going to plant a knife in my back? When Juan Seguin went to retrieve what was left of the bones of the Alamo defenders, he called them heroes,
Right.
and
Right.
made gave a very moving eulogy, and still,
The people of San Antonio had endured so much from
oh hell yeah,
late 1700s to 1836-ish, or even after that, right? I mean, they got reinvaded in 1842, right? So it was just this thing, but they never gave up on that sense of freedom, really. I mean, those people. I mean, again, going back to Brandon Seale's documentary of this thing, just talking about them slitting throats and raping the women of San Antonio coming through after the Battle of Medina, horrendous stuff. Never talked about. But it needs to be understood that it was just, and they didn't bow down and say, oh, now we're going to be, a centralist, whatever.
Right.
No, we're going to be our independent federalist.
and they also didn't say we're going to get the hell out of here. And
Right. And they just continued on,
Yeah.
right? They went, a lot of those guys, they went to Louisiana for a little bit, came back, and now they're fighting with us once again, as you said, fighting at San Jacinto, coming back, burying bones. I mean, just a great, aspect of Texas history.
So what I had to do, what I felt I needed to do, was I felt like what are the odds that the public has a clue that people that are heads of history departments who are teaching Texas history, not to seventh graders, but to college age kids who are, half-ass capable of like making their own decisions, but are in that period of life where they're sort of moon-eyed about their professors and like, I believe everything he says. And
Right.
so because we've developed a large mailing list and audience through publishing so many books over the years, we started making people aware of that. People started getting pissed off. I know, family show. And it got to a point where people were sending me articles left and right, like, have you seen this? What do you know about this professor? Like, what do you know about my alma mater? I finally said, okay, I can't do this by myself anymore. I need other people to write articles. I need other people to pay attention.
So they're writing articles, and talk about this digitization.
Well, so I started a
fascinating
nonprofit.
to me. Yeah,
I started
this
a
is
nonprofit
fantastic.
called Texas History Trust.
Okay.
Got a board on board, got some people with PhDs who are smarter than me, and people who are history people but familiar with the nonprofit world, and said, okay, y'all, what are we going to do? Like, yeah, we need to counter this narrative, but that's negative.
Are you trying to counter it through the actual facts of the documentation?
Well, the thing about academics, the thing about professors is they're not used to criticism, and nobody's providing any.
Right.
Well, now they are. But you need a positive element. You can't just say this is wrong. You've got to fill that void with something. So I started taking like the papers of Sam Houston, the Austin papers.
Where was this before? Has this ever been available to the public?
Some of it, yeah. And if you want to buy that set of books,
It's a bunch of books that are written.
Papers of Sam Houston is a set of books. The Austin Papers is a set of books. Papers of the Texas Revolution, 10-volume set of books, will set you back a minimum of about $3,000 if you want to buy it and keep it in your house.
But nobody has the content available
But-
to them.
Papers of the Texas Revolution was not online because it's still under copyright. So I had to go ask permission from the copyright owner to provide this to the public on the website so that it's searchable, it's readable. So if you
huge.
want to know what Stephen F. Austin wrote about slavery,
Right.
go to the website, go to texashistorytrust.org, click read our books,
Wide open.
and
I
it's
know what
there.
you're getting for Christmas.
Yeah. Here's
Because
your digital copy
It's
of.
huge.
you can go from Spanish era Texas, Mexican era Texas, Lamar's papers, Houston papers, Austin papers, papers of the Revolution, history of Refugio, because so much of Texas was Refugio early on. That's all in one place. It's about $50,000 worth of books
Yeah.
for free on the website, and
So it's on your website now.
yeah, and
And what's the website?
TexasHistoryTrust.org. Click read our books, and you'll be reading our books.
We'll have a link below for that. By the way, it's awesome.
And we make
Is it free? Anybody can access that?
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep, because what we want is the public to be able to say, "Oh, I'm reading this wonderful book by Dr. Hardin. That quote doesn't seem right," or "I want to know more about that footnote."
Right.
You got it. You don't have to go to a university library now. You can do it on your phone. I tested so many platforms to make sure that people could read this on a phone, on a tablet, wherever, whenever, and.
Yeah.
That's the thing I'm proudest of, because it's probably 30,000 pages of information, and I had to click because I have a non-destructive book scanner,
Yeah.
and I had to center and click for each one of those freaking pages.
But that's a big.
We salute your work
Yes.
towards Texas. That's fantastic. I mean, so what is the future for Michelle Haas and all your clicking and scanning and all that, all the hard work that
Your
you've done?
passion and-
What are you going to do?
We're going to bring more stuff online. We're hoping in the near future. I've got some people who do high-end production. You keep talking about Yellowstone episodes. I want to be able to.
Every time I read one of these, I'm thinking about that.
I want to be able to do the Siege of the Alamo. I want to be able to talk about the Gutierrez McGee expedition
Yes.
in a visual way that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And
Which that one is fantastic. I did some deep dive on Gutierrez.
new book about that coming out first of the year.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yours?
Oh, hell no.
Or there is a
No.
new book coming out.
Yes,
Gutierrez
he worked on it for so long. Like, I'm saying hell no, because there's no way I
Again,
could have spent that
this
much
is
time.
Spanish times. This is before that.
Right.
Traveled
Look at it and
through up to America.
getting- yeah,
and all
and-
that, and brought back these Enlightenment Jeffersonian principles that really inspired this through the Texas Revolution. So that's fantastic. I didn't realize that. That's great.
Yeah, no, that's I'm looking forward to it, and God love him, the guy who wrote it. Just he keeps saying, "When my book comes," every time you have a conversation with him. Well, when my book comes out, dude, we get it. You have a book coming out,
Mel.
Awesome.
but it's going to be awesome, and I think our future is just continuing to, get the word out to people about primary source documents.
Yes.
And just what a riveting story we have to tell from beginning to right now in
mean,
Texas.
I could probably do this for like 7 more hours. I love it. We didn't even touch on Texian Navy. So we had a Navy.
Oh my goodness!
Just real quick.
know.
I mean,
We had-
just real quick. I know producer's screaming over here. Producer's like, screaming at me. But hey, the Texian Navy talking about the Republic of the Yucatan, or the Yucatan people that were trying to be independent as well. And Texas, the Texian, the Republic of Texas helping them, giving the ships.
Yeah, they Texas wasn't the only Mexican state that was pissed with Santa Anna and centralism, and so Zacatecas, obviously they got their asses handed to them.
Right.
Yucatan was not happy. Then there was the
We
whole
planted a Texas flag on Cozumel. By
We
the
did.
way, and
And-
I need to
and
say it. I take it back.
I have much regret that we just didn't stick with that, and
Yeah.
you can kind of blame Sam Houston.
Yes.
A little bit.
I'm a Lamar guy.
He does daily.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
yes, yes,
Give it up.
Yes, I'm a Texas national.
Green power.
Yes.
So
So
yeah,
this is green for the actual flag of the People's Republic of the North, or whatever, was green. It was an Irish flag, or they were
Yeah.
McGee, I guess, was Irish, right?
Yeah.
So they had a
so we
went
had
into
two
battle with the
navies.
green
We had
flag.
two navies, and nobody talks about these. We have the Battle of Campeche, and you have Mexico has these brand new top of the line ships, and we're still under sail, and they've got steamers. And I'm not going to say that it was a rout. I mean, it was a tie,
we beat their ass.
but still, I mean, come on.
But we beat their ass, and the cool thing is, if you talk about the old Colt 45s that won the West and all that, the Battle of Campeche.
That's what's
is
engraved.
engraved on
Yep.
the Colt 45. is that. So people don't realize, where'd that come from? Like, you have to ask.
It's
like,
the Texas Navy Colt,
All these
and then because Sam Houston took his boot heel and smashed the Texas Navy to bits, there were all these surplus revolvers that later end up in the hands of the Texas Rangers.
Right.
Just can you imagine that? You're just out like
Ken Wise's Texas Ranger.
Pretty
boots, that's what I'm
badass.
talking about.
you're out trying to.
I know. So we're getting at this part of the episode as we talk about Wise in
The
Texas.
boot
Not
of the
that we're
day.
cutting you off,
Episode
but
is,
we're cutting you off.
Where did it come from? What is, so we always got to do Texas history your stuff, which we've done a great job with, and this is a University of Houston boot, but it's got the skyline of Houston on here too. So it's kind of cool. We got the alligator coming up into some black calf, into the red calf, and just kind of showing the unique things that we can do.
The back of it.
The-
I want
the-
to see how much
can see the
skyline
sun.
there actually is.
It's all the way
It's
around.
all the way
Yeah,
around.
that's
It's
awesome.
amazing, right?
Yeah, I think the skyline.
That's
is-
perfect.
And it's
kind
actually
of
pretty accurate.
Uh-huh.
One of
It
the,
just
one
brings
of the
the
coolest
boot
things that we
all the way
do
up.
that's kind of unique to Republic, and we've done these skyline boots for Houston Astros, for
Yes.
University of Houston, and a few other things in various colors. So
Texans.
it's not
Yes.
uncommon to get a request for a custom boot with the skyline.
Yeah.
Love it.
That's an
Can't see it
incredible
if you're
thing.
doing the audio version of this, so we're out there for the audio version. But go to YouTube and you can check out our video feed, and you can see these boots and check us out. So, how can we find you? What are you doing next? What's the next thing that we want people to understand how to get in contact with you or find your material?
Well, and then we're not done with you. We want you to come back another time.
Yes,
There's so
I
much
got-
more that we need to talk about.
I got a lot
There's
more.
a lot to talk about.
Yeah, I'm
I'll
holding myself back.
just put up a tent in the bar area,
Okay.
and
sold.
and we can just sit there Indian style.
I love that she chose
can't-
the bar area.
Yeah, well,
can't
you don't
sit
want to
Indian
walk
style.
too far
That's my home.
for a refill. Now, people can, Texas History Trust is on Facebook. We're on
Texas History
YouTube.
Trust. Yeah.
We have
Just Google it, right?
we have but TexasHistoryTrust.org, or you can go to YouTube, Texas History Trust on YouTube. We have a lot of videos there
Oh,
about
cool.
Texans stories that you may not know.
Yeah.
They're not famous people. They're just cool Texans.
The cool thing is, again, as I've gone through this journey and I've really gone deep in some of the stuff, is everybody knows those general stories, but the more fascinating thing is the backstory, like the whys.
Absolutely.
And again, I'm digging into like the Spanish era of a lot of Anglos coming over and doing this.
All the filibustering and,
Yeah,
and
all
all of that. It's
fascinating.
it's wild that it's like there's a whole nother life before
Yeah,
the life that you knew.
Exactly.
And all of that stuff is, from back to the Spanish explorers.
100%.
It's all just wild stuff that's filled with daring men
Right.
that had a
with
pair.
daring men with a trying to do a mission that is morally
Well, and
correct.
the beauty of it is every one of these folks are just people that have a
Oh,
passion
sure.
and
Yeah.
believe
Sure.
in something. So everyone makes a difference. No matter who you are, you make a difference.
And that's
Doing
it.
episode
You
2
can
here
make
soon.
it.
That's right. That's right. Thank you, Michelle Haas, so much for
Thanks,
coming
y'all, for
on,
having me.
coming over here. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Adios, guys. Woo! All right.